Okay, so here we go in Chapter 4, Section 2, which is focused on graphing linear equations in two variables. So the first thing I want us to be able to do is I want us to recognize the relationship between solutions of an equation and its graph, okay? So real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write this real fast. I'm going to write 3x plus 2y equals 12, okay? Now, if I wanted to, we can go ahead and find all these points here. All right, so if you just want to give me a second, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find a couple points, some special ones, and then I'm going to go ahead and graph them. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so when x is -2, y is going to be 9, so that's going to be the point -2, 9. Another one could be 0 and 6. So that's our point 0 and 6. And then the last point I'm going to pick here is going to be 4 and 0. Okay? Now, recall that every single one of these points are called ordered pairs. Okay? Which means there's an order. X comes first, Y comes second. And they're pairs because this X and this Y, in this case the -2 and the 9, are paired together. Okay? So if I were to go ahead and just draw this, I'm going to do a little crude drawing here. All right, so -2, 9, that's going to be like up over here somewhere. 0, 6, that's going to be like right about here. And then 4, 0, it's going to be right about there. Notice I connect the dots and I get my line. Now, here's something that's really interesting about a line, okay? There are infinite amounts of solutions to a linear equation. And what we mean by that is this, okay? When we have a line and we graph it, such as we have here, any point that lies on this line, so if it's this point here, call point A, or this point all the way down here in the lower right-hand corner, we'll call that point C, or even all the way up here, we'll call that point C. If I were to take those values and substitute it into my equation, 3x plus 2y equals 12, I will always get a true statement because the points lie on that line. And that's what we talk about when we mean, you know, when you graph a line, there's an infinite amount of solutions that will satisfy that equation. And it's because they all exist on this line. All right? So what I want us to do now is just let's do a couple examples. All right, let's explore this a little further. So, given the equation y equals 2x minus 3 are the following ordered pairs solutions. Okay? And here are the ordered pairs that I'm going to give us. Part A, 0, -3. Part B, 3, 3. And then part C is going to be 2, -3. So really, all I'm asking you to do is just substitute and tell me if we have a true statement. So what I always like to do is rewrite the equation, and then directly underneath, wherever I see the variables, I'll put parentheses. And now I'm going to make my first substitution. So for part A, x is going to be 0. Y is going to be -3, so I'll just make those substitutions. And my goal is just to make sure that the left and the right sides are equal. Well, if you think about it, we have -3 on the left, and then on the right, we have 2 times 0, which is 0 minus 3, is -3. So because this forms a true statement, this ordered pair 0, -3 is going to be on the line if I were to graph it. Okay? Let's try another one. Let's try part B. So all I'm going to do is just erase. What's nice about a video, you can just pause it and go back. So I'm going to substitute in 3 and 3 for x and y for part B. So on the left-hand side, I get 3. But on the right-hand side, I get 2 times 3, which is 6. So we have 6 minus 3. And notice when I go in and do 6 minus 3, I get positive 3. So yes, this point is also on our line, which is fantastic. Last example is going to be part C. So for x, I substitute in a 2. For y, I substitute in negative 3. So on the left-hand side, I get negative 3. But on the right-hand side, I'm going to get 2 times 2, which is 4, minus 3. And we know negative 3 does not equal 1. Therefore, that point 2 comma negative 3 is not going to be on our line, which means it is not a solution. All right. So the next thing I'm going to show you is a very, very powerful tool that we can use. It's free, which is great. And if you're writing your math out correctly, then you'll be able to type it in. And what I mean by that is this. We're going to go to this website right here. Now this website is called Desmos. It's DESMOS.com. You can also download this for your Android phone, tablet, iPad, phone, or tablet, doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and click on graphing calculator, and you get this nice little graphing calculator. So over here on the left-hand side, where you can see that little cursor blinking, we're going to type in the example that we just had. Okay, so that example, I don't even remember it. Let me look back at it. Sorry. Was it? Oh, y equals 2x minus 3. All right. So I'm going to type in y equals 2x minus 3. And when I do that, I go ahead and get this nice red line. Now, if you want to change the color of the line, all you have to do is click on the little graph icon and hold it in with the left mouse button. So I clicked and I held it in, and a little window pops up. And from here, you can change the thickness of it. You can change how bold do you want it. You could change it from a solid line to a dotted line to a little dotted line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this to black. And that's it. So now what we can do is if I click directly below the y equals 2x minus 3, that's going to open up another cursor. And I'm going to type in the points that we just used. Okay? So our first point was 0 comma negative 3. So parenthesis, because remember, all points have a parenthesis around it. So 0 comma negative 3. End the parenthesis. And underneath, you see a little thing popped up that said label. So I'm going to label it. And I'm going to change this color to red so we can see it a little easier. And as you can see, over here on the right-hand side, I zoomed in a little bit. We can see the point 0 comma negative 3, and it's labeled for us. Notice that not only algebraically did we determine, yes, that is a solution, it's on the line, and that's what's really important for us, okay, is that it's on the line. Now the next one, what was our next point? 3 comma 3. So parenthesis, 3 comma 3, end the parenthesis. So this point's going to be in green, so let me go ahead and label it. Now, I got to zoom out here a little bit. There it is. It's up there in the upper right-hand corner. Sometimes if you can't see it, just going to move it around a little bit. All right, but here's our point 3 comma 3, which is fantastic. It's on the line. That's what we expected to find because it was a solution. Now, that last point that we need to be concerned with was 2 comma negative 3. So let me show you what that looks like on here. So parenthesis, 2 comma negative 3. And the parenthesis, and I'll label it, and it's in purple. And notice that point is off to the right of our line. We determine algebraically it is not a solution. And now we can actually verify that with a picture. All right. So Desmos, unbelievably powerful, easy to use. If you are writing your math correctly, you can type it in. Okay. So I will be referring to Desmos a lot in these tutorials only because I am terrible at drawing these lines very accurately, and just a way to get around it is I just use Desmos. Makes my life so much easier, and it's just a lot neater and cleaner. Okay, so let's go back to the lesson now. So the next thing that I want to talk about is just graphing a linear equation, because so far I've either given you the graph or I've given you points and then we had to graph it. What I'm talking about now is just, what if I just gave you a linear equation and said graph it? So graph a linear equation by plotting points. Okay? So, at its simplest form, 2 points form a line. 3 points form a very good line, which is really, really dumb when you think about, like what I'm saying here. But it makes a lot of sense. So what I'm saying here is, if you have 2 points, you can graph any line you want. However, if you include a third point, you're almost guaranteed that your first 2 points are correct because everything should lie on a straight line. So that third point, this third point that I'm talking about that forms a very good line, is just a nice little way for you to check to make sure everything is correct. Okay? Now, when we start graphing a linear equation by plotting points, we don't have to make this difficult. And what I mean by that is this. Let me go ahead and use graph paper here. So I'm going to change over to graph paper real fast. There we go. So if the example is graph y equals 2x minus 1, what I need are 3 points. So we know that we can create a table and we can go in and graph, but the question becomes, well, what do we use? The answer to that is whatever you want. Now, sometimes you're going to be clever about what values we pick, but I'm just going to go ahead for this one. It's very simple. I will let you know when we have to get clever. So when I go ahead and plot points, I like to pick a negative number. I like to pick 0 if it's possible, and a positive number. So I'm going to go with -2, 0, and +2. I literally made those numbers up. That's what it is, okay? So now what we have to do is, given the fact that we are picking some x values that we made up, let's find the y values that are associated with that x value and then create our ordered pair. So I write y equals 2x minus 1, y equals 2 parenthesis minus 1. Remember, I like to use parentheses before I make my substitution. And the first one we're going to do here is -2. So when x equals -2, y is going to equal -4 minus 1, or y equals -5. So in my table, I just put -5, and then my ordered pair will be -2, -5. And I'm going to do that again for each one of my x values. So I'm just going to erase here a little bit. So when x equals 0, y is going to equal 0 minus 1, or y equals -1. Okay? And then lastly, when x equals 2. So just give me a second. I'm going to erase, substitute. So 2 times 2 is 4. And 4 minus 1 is 3. So when x equals 2, y equals 3. And now, as you can see, I have 3 points. That's hopefully going to give me a very nice line. All right? So if you want to, you can graph this by hand. I have graphing paper here, so it really helps me out. So let me graph it by hand, and then I'll show you how to use Desmos, okay? In fact, I'm going to erase that. Because you can always go back, pause the video, and go backwards. That's fine. So the big thing is just to be careful. Be nice and neat, evenly spaced. And this is the part I hate, which is drawing this rectangular grid over and over again. But I'll do it. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. Now we got to go down, so that's going to be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And then we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So from here, I'll use a different color. And we're just going to plot points. -2, comma -5. That's going to be right about there. I'll label it. 0, -1. It's going to be right about here. I'll label that. Maybe put a little arrow to it. And then 2, 3. So that's going to be right there. 2, 3. And when I connect the dots, it forms a nice straight line. Or at least that's about as straight as I can make this line for myself. Because like I said, I am a terrible artist. Now, if you want to use Desmos, I will show you how to do that. So to clear this out, all you can do is just click the X's. Everything will just disappear. Now we're going to type in y equals 2x. What was it again? 2x minus 1? Yep. So y equals 2x minus 1. Oh, come on. Sorry, my keyboard's like all the way on the left-hand side of my desk. There we go. 2x minus 1. And let's go ahead and plot the points that we found. So the points are going to be, what is that? -2, -5. -2, comma, -5. All right, we'll label it. And then we have 0, comma, -1. Label it. And then 2, 3. And we'll label that one as well. Now I'll just zoom out just a little bit. And I don't know about you, but boy, I think that is absolutely beautiful. So what I'm going to do is just copy and paste this into our notes. Perfect. It looks good. So as you can see here, I got the points. I got to, oh, geez. Let me try to fix this here a little bit. There we go. I think that'll work. So you can see I got my equation, y equals 2x minus 1. I got each the 3 points that I picked, and they all are on the line. That is graphing by plotting points. Now, I'm going to do one more example for us, because this is where we just have to be clever. All right, so we're going to graph y equals -1/4 x plus 1. Okay? Now, if you notice, we got a fraction, and that is the coefficient of our x variable. So if I were to pick just like any random points, I may run into the situation that I get fractions as results. And I know we want to avoid fractions at all costs. So what we got to do is just be clever. All right? So the easiest way to do this is to just look at the number in the denominator, which is a 4, and just pick x values that are multiples of 4. So for me, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to do -4, 0, and +4. Now, what you'll notice is when I go ahead and find my points, so give me 1 second here. I just want to rewrite the equation. Put a parenthesis wherever I see the variable. So when I go ahead and find out what y is, the first one I'm going to do is -4/1. Notice that the 4's reduce. All right. You have a -1 times -1, which is going to be y equals 1 plus 1, or y equals 2. So your first ordered pair is going to be -4, 2. Now I'm going to go ahead and erase -1/4. So we're going to find out when x equals 0. Well, anything times 0 is 0. So this is just going to be y equals 1. So this is our ordered pair 0, 1. And then lastly, we're going to do 4, or 4 over 1. So again, the 4 is reduced, so you have -1 times 1, which is going to be -1 plus 1, or 4 comma 0. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and use Desmos for this. I think it's much easier if I do that. So let's clear all this out. Let's type in the equation. Y equals -1 over 4. Okay, now if you're wondering how I did that, I put the 1/4 there. All right, there's a couple ways. On your keyboard, there is a division key. It is right next to the shift on the right-hand side of your keyboard. Okay? Or there's another way to do it. So let me show you the other way. Let me just erase this real fast. Down here in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see Show Keypad. So if I click on Show Keypad and I open it up, it gives me like all these different things, but right here is the division symbol. If you just click that, it's going to give you a fraction bar. So you just type in 1 up front and then use your arrow key to go down. Type in a 4, use your arrow key to go to the right, and then you could pick an X. And was it -1 or +1? +1. +1. So to get rid of this, you just click on Show Keypad again, and it'll go down. Here's our line right here. It's nice and pretty. Oh, forgot the negative out front. I'm sorry. There we go. And now we're just going to type in our points. So the first point was -4 comma 2. -4 comma 2. Label it. Then the second point was going to be 0 comma 1. Label it. And then our last one was 4 comma 0 if I was correct. And label that. Perfect. As you can see here, I have 3 points all on the purple line. And that just tells me that, hey, all the math that you've completed so far is all correct. So let's go ahead. Let's copy and paste this into our notes. Because once again, it's nice and pretty. So we'll just do that. Back to our notes. And let me just fix it real fast. Perfect. It looks great. Now, before we go, there are definitely 2 special lines I want to talk about. Okay? And the 2 lines I want to talk about are vertical line and a horizontal line. Now make sure if you're writing down these notes, you leave yourself a little bit of a space. Okay? Because vertical lines have something very special. So I think maybe if we just draw one first, it'll make a lot of sense. So here's the rectangular coordinate grid. And I'm just going to draw a vertical line, which looks just like this. Okay? Now, if you can see on this vertical line that I drew, I can go in and start plotting points if I wanted to. For example, and I'm going to do it in red, this point right here, well, that's the point 1 comma 0. And this point right here above it is the point 1 comma 1. And this point below it, well, that's going to be 1 comma -1. And all 3 of these points have something in common. And that something is that they all have the same exact x value. See, with vertical lines, we don't care what the y value is. All we care about is what the x value is. And because of that, the equation for a vertical line is going to be x equals some number. So, for example, the one on the board, this is the equation x equals 1. So if you notice, and I'm gonna go ahead and just draw this graph again so you can see how I did it. All right, I'm just gonna draw this graph again. So how I did this was, Since my equation is x equals 1, I put a dot at x equals 1. Then I can go up and down and just draw a vertical line. So all vertical lines will have the equation x equals a number. All you do is put a dot on that line or wherever that point is on the x-axis and just go up and down. Now, on the flip side, you have a horizontal line. So if you think about this, the opposite of a vertical line is going to be a horizontal line. And if you're thinking about this correctly, the opposite of x equals some number is going to be y equals some number. And that is the equation for all horizontal lines. Okay, so in this specific case, this is the equation y equals 2. Because if you think about it, what I did is I came up 2 units on the y-axis, and then I drew a line to the right and to the left, put some arrows on the end, and called it a day. So every single one of these points, no matter which one you pick, will all have something common. So let me show you. That point is 0, 2. This point on the far right is going to be 2, 2. This point on the left-hand side, far left, is going to be -1, 2. And like I said, what they all have in common is that the y value for each one of these points is 2. So we don't care what the x value is. What we care about is that y value. So now what I want to do is show you how do you actually do this in your homework, because graphing using computers, it's not difficult. It's just, you just want to see how to do it. So let me pull up a homework question and I'll show you. All right, so here's just a simple homework problem, okay? And in this problem right here, what they want us to do is they want us to graph the linear equation y equals x plus 4 by plotting some points, okay? So remember, 2 points are what we need to form a line. So I'm going to find 2 points, and I'll show you how to do this. So y equals x plus 4. So let me go back into our notes. Okay. Oh, I need a different marker here, sorry. I'm just going to write y equals x plus 4. And I'm going to create a table, x and y. And these are going to be my points, ordered pairs, x comma y. So I'm going to choose -2 and +2. Okay? So when x equals -2, y is going to equal -2 plus 4 is +2. So this is going to be the point, -2, 2. And then for our second point, I let x equal 2. So 2 plus 4 is 6. So this is going to be the point 2, 6. All right. So now that we have those points, all we got to do is go back to the homework. All right. And this tool right here is the line tool. All right. It's the second one on the left-hand side. So I found that, double clicking it just activates it. All right. So you see how it's highlighted blue? And to make this as easy as possible, instead of trying to be like really precise and trying to, move your mouse and everything in the rectangular coordinate grid, I'm just going to just pick 2 points. I'm just going to pick any 2 points. I don't care, because I can always change them. And how I change them is I come over here to the right-hand side where it says graph layers, and there's a little arrow next to the line 1. When I click on that arrow, P1 and P2 pop up. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change P1, which stands for 0.1, and P2, which stands for 0.2, to the points that we calculated. So the first one's going to be -2, 2, and then 0.2 is going to be 2, 6. And notice by me doing that, it's already changed. Everything's nice and neat. And I don't have to worry about like moving my mouse and trying to click exactly where it has to be. I mean, that, I'll be honest with you, it gets really annoying really quickly. Okay? So we're going to just leave this like this. And then all you have to do, well, I'm kind of using the instructor side. So you would just click on submit, and then it would tell you whether or not you're correct. Okay? So there's the first example I want to show you. Now, this next one I want to show you I'm going to scroll down until I actually see it. All right. Are they graphing a vertical or horizontal line? Now, when we graph a vertical or horizontal line, remember, you're looking at the equation. In this case, it's x equals 2. So we're going to click on the line tool again. I'm going to click on x equals 2. And since this is x equals 2, we know it's a vertical line. I do not care what the second point is. So all you have to do is either go up or go down. But as long as x equals 2, you're going to be fine. So I'm going to just go down. I'm going to click right here. Okay. Now, I will click over on the right-hand side just to open up this panel, just to make sure that where I clicked is correct. Notice my point 1 is 2, 0, and point 2 is 2, -8. Because remember, x has to be the same number. Okay? So there's that example. And then the last one is just going to be y equals 5. Okay? So once again, just double click here, go to y equals 5, click anywhere else that you want, doesn't matter. Open up this panel and just verify. Remember, this is y equals 5. So you want to make sure that the first and the second y values both say 5. And as long as you can do that, you can graph anything in WebAssign. It's that simple. So I'll leave you here. And I will talk to you in the next video, which deals with intercepts, which is super easy. Trust me. So I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye.